I'd like to welcome you to this book of Esther. We're going to be going through Esther and featuring the preposition as our part of speech. And prepositions are highlighted in this blue color, and the first chapter will be featuring all the prepositions that are in that chapter, and then after that we'll feature certain preposition in each seminar. And preposition is associated with nouns or pronouns, and it's a sort of a gap word. You'll see it when we go through and we point out these prepositions. If you took the preposition out, it wouldn't make much sense. So the preposition helps to identify what's going on, and the prepositions are non-declinable. That is, there's only one spelling. In, the preposition in, epsilon ni is always spelled the same. There's no declining in the different cases. It's always one. There are abbreviations. We will go to them when we get to each one, but the abbreviation is just taking off the last letter of the word and put an apostrophe there. They did that in the Greek. And the prepositions with a verb, it's a possibility, it could be with the verb. Originally, prepositions were adverbs, but they changed into more of a preposition. But a preposition that's with a verb instead of a noun or a pronoun is generally an adverb. It's a little bit on the confusing side with grammar, but these prepositions will be shown here. And one thing I like about going through grammar with an explanation and with illustrations as we do is that you're not learning just some kind of a general rule that doesn't apply in many places, and you're trying to see how these rules that are given in grammar, how they apply to a certain passage. And if you feel like you figure that you have to make it agree with that rule, it becomes very difficult. And we don't do that. We'll point out where some places you just couldn't use the English word that you should use. As far as in a lot of Greek grammars, it wouldn't make as much sense. So there are variations. And so the book of Esther starts off with Ke egeneto in tes imeres artaxerxou, utos o Artaxerxes apo tis indikis, ekaton ikosiepta horon ekratisen. You'll see there's a lot of English derivatives in this chapter, and we're not going to go mention every single derivative. It'll probably take all night, but you can look a lot of these up. If there's something we haven't covered before, then we'll bring it up and mention it. The first chapter came to pass in, there's in. If you didn't have the preposition, it would be, and it came to pass the days of Artaxerxes. In the the article here in the dative, you could put in the days. Many times it doesn't have a preposition, so you have to almost add a preposition for it to make sense with the word the in the days, if there was no in. So it came to pass in the days of Artaxerxes. Different people look at this king Artaxerxes as in different Persian kings. There's Cyrus, Cambyses, Darius I, Xerxes, Artaxerxes I, Darius II, Artaxerxes II, Artaxerxes III, Arces, Darius III, and it goes on down. And exactly which one it's talking about here, I don't know. I'm not going to be dogmatic on it and say it's any one, but anyway, this mentions it's Artaxerxes. And this Artaxerxes held one 100, ekaton, hectare, English derivative, 127 regions from India. So he held all this area from India all the way across into which today is Iraq. And in verse 2, en they tavtes tes imeres ote enathronisti Vasilev Artaxerxes en Susis te poli. And in those days, if you didn't have the end there would be and those days, although the tavtes is in the dative, which means it's indirect object in, so it would, some places they wouldn't have the preposition there. And the last verse, I mentioned the apo. So this Artaxerxes held 127 regions, and then it would have of the India. You could do that. Again, that it could be taken out of there. Of the India, or from India, is with the preposition apo. So this Artaxerxes was enthroned, and a thronisi. Can you see the throne in there? A derivative word, thronisi. It was enthroned. This is the verb. In Sushan, the city. And the city is Susan. It's or Sushan actually. And Susa is called in other places, and it's in Iran, across the border from Iraq, on the southern part of Iraq, and it's the city that this king was ruling in. And verse 3 continues, Ento trito eti vasilevontos avtu, thokin epise tis philis, ke tis lipis ethnisi, ke tis person ke midon, and doxis ke tis arcusi ton satrapon. In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a banquet. The Vasilev, basil plant, the king, the basilica where the king lives, he made a banquet to his Philis friends of Philadelphia, a city of brotherly love, friendly love, and to the rest of the nations, ethnic, and to the Person, the Persians, and the Medon, the Medes. And the Medes were over towards the east of Iran, and the Persians more towards the west. And the honorable one, so he's made this banquet. These banquets could have lasted weeks. And to the ruler, Arcusi, the Arco, we have a ruler of the satrapies, the satrapon, a satrap, the eastern ruler. And Ke meta tafta meta to dixe aftis ton pluton ke vasilias aftu ke tin voxen tis ephrosinis aftu epi imeris ekaton ogdoi konta. And after these things, meta is a derivative. If you didn't have it, it would just be and these things. So it's giving you an idea of time, space. Prepositions do that. They'll give you, it'll say if it's over, under, around, above, into, and some cases it won't be spatial, but it will be, it has to do with time, or it can do with what the subject is. We'll get to those when we get to them. But this one, after these things, and after the showing to them the Pluton, Pluto, the god of riches, and the name of the planet, or the English derivatives, of his kingdom, and the doxon, the glory, the doxology in the liturgy, of his gladness, ephrasis, gladness in English, epi, for 180 days. Epi, for. Now, if that wasn't there, it would be in the glory of his gladness, 180 days. So it could be without it, but it has it here for 180 days. Now, epi in other places you'll see it's upon. In this case, it's for. We will go through the rules more or less when we get to each individual preposition. I'm just showing you here on this chapter the prepositions where they are. And when the ote they anapleurothison imere tu gamu episen ovasiles poton tis ethnisi tis evre thison istin polin epi imeris ex in avli tu ikutu basileos. And when the days were fulfilled of the wedding, the king made episen, the poet, PAO, whenever you see that 4160, it's to do or make. A poton, a banquet. Potable has to do with drinking, a water that's drinkable, and a poton was a banquet. It was mainly a drinking banquet. Drinking was a big part of this. For the ethnicity, the nations, to the ones found is teen polling in the city, is in epsilon ni is also in, and they're both used for, they're both used, have the same English words, but they're different prepositions. Found in many places, is into rather than in, but it wouldn't fit here. Found into the city, you could put that, but it wouldn't sound very good in English, so I have in, and you'll see later here in is used with the epsilon ni. Polling, we have a polis, metropolis. For, epi, ex imeris, 6 days, a hexagon, six-sided object. In, there's the preposition in, and has in, the courtyard of the iku, economy of the king, house of the king. Verse 6, kekos mimeni vicinis, ke karpasinis, tetamenis epi skinis, vicinis, ke porphyris epi kivis, chrysis, ke argyris epi stylis, parinos, parinis, ke lithinis, kline, chrysae, ke argyre, epi lithostrotu, smaragditu, lithu, ke pinithnu, ke parinu, lithu, ke stromne, diaphanis, pichilos, dinthismene. Being adorned in fine linen and cotton, being stretched upon skinny, upon lines. Otherwise it would have being stretched lines, which wouldn't mean upon. You would think the lines were being stretched. So it gives a space to the subject there, the being stretched upon lines of fine linen, and a purple. So these cords with all these fine drapery around them, and is in the courtyard of the king, and they were on cubes or studs or some type of a stand. Epi. Now here's epi and says upon in the dative, upon cube studs of gold and silver, and it's upon, not far. And then again epi stylis, of Parnian marble, upon columns of Parnian marble. Kivis, we have a cube as in derivative. Chrysis, chrysanthemum, the gold flower. Argyris, Argentina. These were derivatives. Stylis, a style. And lithini, stones, lithograph, something written on a plate or stone. Kline, beds of chrysae and argyre. Kline, we have incline and recline, has to do with laying down. Upon, epi, a stone pavement of emerald, stone, lithu, and mother of pearl, and Parnian marble stone, and transparent, like a lace, diaphanis, phanos in English is a transparency, being decorated with variously transparent strewn beds. So you can see this room or this courtyard with all these beautiful fine linens hanging and the gold and the silver and beautiful marble all around with stones and gold and beds laying there with the people laid on and ate with mother of pearl and just in laces and just a beautiful setting for this feast that Artaxerxes is giving. And he has it planned to entertain all the nations, the people that were there from the other nations, the ambassadors, and with cups. Potiria krisa ke agira inos polis ke idis on aftos o vasilevsi epinen. With cups, potiria, a pot, krisa and silver, enos, and vino is a derivative, polis, pali, is a prefix in English for many, and agreeable, which the king himself drank, so it wasn't some cheap wine that he gave to the people, but his own private stock. Verse 8, O they potosa utos u kata prokimenon nomon ageneto, utos they ethelisin o vasilevs ke apetaxe tisiko nomis pi se to thelima avtu ke ton anthropon. But this potos, this drinking banquet, took place 1, 2, not 3, according to 4, the law being situated, nomon, astronomy, nomi, according to, here we have a kata is a derivative, and it helps define the subject and what it's about, being situated not according to. You could put being situated not the law, but the according to defines it, what it is. It could have been against or for, and here kata, according to. The law didn't take place according to the law, but thus the king wanted, and he gave orders to the managers, the economies, economy, is an English derivative, to do his will, and for the men, the anthropon, anthropology is English derivative. So even though it wasn't by law, he wanted his will to be done, and he did it the way he wanted to do it. But ke asti I Vasilisa epise, and Vashti, the queen, the Vasilisa, you see the Vasil, we have Vasilevs is a king, and the Vasilisa is a queen, made 4160. Poton te skinexin in tis Vasilis, opu o Vasilevs Artaxerxes. Vashti, the queen, made a banquet, another one, for the women, the gynexine, the gyne, whenever you see that, it has to do with women, gynecology, in the place, palace, where King Artaxerxes, I put the was, where he was, it's obvious, it's what it's talking about, and they ti imera ti ebdomi ideos genomenos o vasilevs, ipe to aman ke vazatha ke harvona ke vagatha ke avagatha ke zithor ke haravas tis epta evnukis tu vasileos Artaxerxu. And the seventh day and on, or in, there's the in, it could be in or on. Generally when you say it's, you say on the seventh day in American English. And on the seventh day, ebdomi, hebdomad is a seventh, period of sevens, day, the king, being with pleasure, itheos, hedonism comes from that word, said to Mehuman and Bitshtha and Harbona and Bigtha and Agatha and Zethar and Carcass, the Epta, the seven, Evnukos, eunuch, you can almost see it's a direct transliteration from the Greek into English. the 7 eunuchs of King Artaxerxes. He spoke to them, what? Isagagin tin Vasilisan poros avton, Vasilevin avtin, ke perithine avti to diadima, ke dixe avtin pasitis arcusi, ke tis ethnisi to kalos avtis otikali in. Told them to bring in the Vasilisan pros to him. Uh, it's not in or east, but to him, pros. Pros sometimes is by and other things. Well, when we get to pros, we'll show you. To give her a reign, and to put on her the diadema, a diadem, a direct English transliteration into English, and to show her to all the arcusi, the rulers, and to the ethnici, the nations, her kalos, her beauty, kaleidoscope, beautiful view, for she was Kali, beautiful. Ke uk isikusen aftu asti, I Vasilisa, elthin meta ton evnukon, ke elipithi o Vasilevs, ke orgisti. And one, Vasilisa Vashti did not, Isakus of two, did not listen to him. To come, meta, with. There's another preposition, meta, with. Could be other ways after, but meta with the genitive here, with the eunuchs. And the king fretted, and he was provoked to anger because she wouldn't come for whatever reason. May have been something to do with his not doing it according to the laws, and the family may have determined not to go along with what he was doing. Politics could have been a big part of this, not just that she just didn't want to do it. 113, ke ipe tis filis avtu, kata tafta elalisan nashti, pisate un peri tuto nomon ke krisin. And he said to his filis, friends, kata, thus, these things Vashti spoke, you do or you deal, 4160, then, concerning peri, another preposition, concerning this nomon. And krisin, a crisis, is a judicial word. Ke prosilthan avto karsena, ke sithar, ke avmatha, ke tharsis, ke meris, ke marsena, ke memuchan, epta archontes person, ke midon, I agis tu vasileos, I proti, parakathimeni to vasili. And came forward to him Karshena and Zethar and Admatha and Tarshish and Meres and Marsena and Memucan, 7 rulers of the Persians and Medes, the ones near the king, the ones proti, foremost. We have a prototype, foremost, being seated near the king. So these rulers now come to him after this problem arises of the queen not coming and the king being angry, not being able to show off his beautiful woman to these men. Ke apingilin avto kata tus nomus osdi pise asti ti vasilisi oti uk epise ta ipo tu vasileos prostakthenta diaton evnukon. And they reported to him according to the laws, kata, preposition, to the laws, the nomus, astronomy again, as what Vashti the queen must do. For she had not done the things having been assigned by the king. She didn't do what the king said, rebelled against his authority. Through the eunuchs. Evnukon again, the eunuchs. Ke ipen o memuchan proston vasilea, ke prostus archontas, uton Vasilea monon idikisen asti I Vasilisa Allah ke pantis tus archontas ke tus igumenus tu Vasileos. And Memucan said pros to the king. If you didn't have that pros, it would say, and Memucan said the king. Well, that's not what he said. He said it to. So this, you see these prepositions all define what's going on between with a noun following after it to the king and to the rulers. It used to be that the nouns were determined by the preposition, but it's changed that the prepositions are now associated with the nouns. They don't have to agree with the noun in any form. And then so it said these men said not only Queen Vashti wronged the king, monon only monogynous, only married to one person, not only wronged the king, but also Pontus, all the archontas, the rulers, and the igumenus, the hegemony is a derivative, the leaders of the king. Ke gar the gisato avtis tarimatatis vasilisis, ke os an tipe to vasili, os un an tipe to vasili Artaxerxes. For he described to them the sayings of the king. And however she contradicted the king. So she was saying things and against him and how she wasn't going to do what he wanted. Apparently this man came and told the king of all the things that she was saying and how she contradicted him. And it continues in 18, Uto Cimeron e Tyrannidis e Lipe. So today, he says, the wives of the sovereigns, the Tyrannidis, tyrant, is an English derivative, a sovereign, and then ending with the feminine. The wives of the sovereigns of the rest, tone or tone, of the rulers, the rest of the rulers, person of the Persians, ke midon, akusa se ta to Vasili lekthenta ipavtis, to misusin omios atimase tus andras afton. So the rest of the rulers of the Persians and Medes, and the women hearing akusa say, acoustics, the things having been said against the king by her, is epo, it's abbreviated, by her, they shall dare in like manner to dishonor their anthras, their husbands, androgynous, manly. Iun doki to Vasili prostaxato Vasilikon, ke graphito kata tus nomus midon ke person, ke mi alos chrysasto mide iseltheto eti, I Vasilisa pros afton, ke tin Vasilian aftis, thoto o Vasilevskin eki kritoni aftis. If then it seems good to the king, the Vasili, let him assign Vasilikon, royal decree, and graphito, write, graph, a graph. Let him write kata, according to the nomus, the laws. Otherwise it would be let him write the laws, but it's according to the laws. Midon, so it gives you more information of the midon ke person, ke mi, and not otherwise treat nor let the queen, I Vasilisa, enter any longer. So don't let her come any longer in. To him, pros is the preposition. Don't let her come to him. And let to the king, 3, 4, give her royalty to a woman better than her. This is the solution that these rulers are offering to Artaxerxes. Ke akoustisto o nomos o ipo tu vasileos, on an pii en ti vasilia avtu, ke utos passe e gynekes perithisu si timin tis andrasin iavton, apo prilku eos plusiu. And let the law, nomos, by the king. The law could be, you could also take that epo by, and it would be of the king, or by the king. So they added the preposition in here. Let it be heard, acousthito, again acoustic, whichever he should make for his kingdom. And thus all the women, the gynekes, gynecology being the derivative, and shall invest honor to their anthrasin, iafton, their own husbands. Apo, from poor, so it's explaining from poor, unto rich. Plusiu, Pluto again is that derivative. Ke irasen o logos to vasili, ke tis arkusi, ke episen o vasilevs katha, elalisen o memuka. And the word, the logos, pleased the king, and the arkusi, and the vasilevs episen, as Memucan said. Ke apestilin is pasentin vasilian kata horan kata tin lexin avton, osteine fovon avtis intes ikies avton. And he sent letters is in two. Now there's not the epsilon ni, the n, but in two, and generally the is is in two. Also, this is and n, they're appeared, each appears in this verse. I forgot to mention at the beginning, which kind of makes it confusing somewhat, is that the is and n are also words for the number one. If you said one man, it could be is or n, depending on uh, the nouns, and we'll get into that later. So you would, of course, and then you would naturally ask, well, how do you know if it's is or in? Because if it's, well, in the original manuscripts, they didn't have accent marks, but later on they changed the accent marks. So if you have an accented Bible without just the single accents like the Apostolic Bible, then you can tell because they've done a little homework for you. But that's really not the way it was in the original. You had to do your own homework and figure it out from the uh, from the content. And he sent, if it would have been east, he sent letters one, all, the kingdom wouldn't make any sense. So it's the east as the preposition is used here. Kata, according to Horan, according to their lexine, lexography, it has to do with speech, a lexicograph, so as to be fovon, fearing, phobia is English derivative, so as to be fearing them in, it wouldn't be one, so as to be fearing them one, their households, it wouldn't make sense. So as to be fearing them in their households, ikies. So send these letters so that basically it'll go all throughout the kingdom, and tell them what you're going to do. You're going to strip Vashti of her queenship, and let this be a lesson to all you women out there, that if you do this, then you are going, something is going to happen by the king. And this is the way they did it 2,500 years ago. And so we'll continue us in the second chapter, and I hope you will join us, and God bless.